Bert
Man,
Martinez
I am
show.
so excited for today's show. My first guest today, Grant Cardone, New York Times bestselling author, on the show right now, and he's a man on fire. He's literally obsessed. Grant Cardone is an entrepreneur and international sales master. He's written 4 books on sales and business, including New York Times bestseller, If You're Not First, You're Last. His web-based sales training platforms, Cardone University and Cardone On Demand, offers high-level sales techniques to help people master the sales process and achieve greater success. As a speaker, Grant offers insights about entrepreneurship, motivating staff, and creating greatness in business and in life. Grant Cardone, welcome back to Money for Lunch.
Big man, what's happening?
What's up?
Come on, man.
Man, I'm excited to have you on the show. I cannot believe you got another book cranked out. The book is called Be Obsessed. But before we get to that, I want to ask you...
Bert, no, man. It's called Be Obsessed or Be Average. And nobody wants to be average, except those who have convinced themselves that it's okay to be just okay.
Okay. I love it. All right, so before we do that, though, I want to do this. I want to take a second or two, and if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about Grant Cardone, kind of give us a Reader's Digest of who Grant Cardone is, and give us a little bit behind the scenes there. Look at the behind the scenes of how you built your business empire.
Well, look, hey, I'm just an average guy, man, that didn't want to be average anymore. I got sick of being average. I remember I grew up in a middle-class family. My dad died when I was 10. My mom was left to be terrified every single day because she didn't know how to produce income. So she's sitting there. This is, 30 years ago. She's sitting there. My dad died, and she's sitting there trying to figure out, how am I going to manage money? And that's all I ever heard about: managing money, saving money, clipping coupons, making ends meet. And by the way, Bert, that was when the middle class was actually prosperous, unlike the middle class today, which is living paycheck to paycheck. So, like, I was 16 years old, and I'm looking around saying, man, if this middle class thing is a good thing, I don't want anything to do with it. So I've been, for the last, 30 or 40 years now, been trying to figure out, how do I get myself and my family, starting with my mom back then, and now to my own, my family, my wife and my kids and my company. How do I get them prospering and flourishing and doing well and having abundance and having the availability of funds to actually have choices and not just depend upon the politics of the day or whatever the economic conditions are?
All right. Now, let me ask you this, because I think it's in your book, 10X. Which, by the way, I love this book, and everybody should get 10X. And I think in 10X, or somewhere, I read or heard or saw that when you launched your first business, it took you like almost a year to call either your first client or one of your first big clients, somebody. I know that, again, and I want to talk about this because people look at you now, and you got the plane, and you got all this publicity, and everybody knows you, and they're going, man, it's easy for Grant because, look, he's Grant Cardone.
Dude, hey,
Bert, Cardone.
It has never been easy for me, okay? When I was 25, I was broke. I had just got out of a treatment center for a drug problem, which I'm not proud of. I was broken financially, spiritually, mentally, and physically. Okay. My first business, it took me 1 year to call on the first client. My twin brother said, don't even call me again until you actually go work at your job. When I started my first business, it took me 3 years to ever make any money, to make the same amount of money that I had made from the previous job. Look, it's all been hard for me. Nothing has become easy. Somebody said to me today, man, it's like you're an overnight success. I said, yeah, the problem is it took 35 years. A lot of failures, a lot of mistakes, tremendous amount of effort. And there's still things today, Bert, that I have been trying to make happen that haven't happened. I mean, a whole list of things that I could tell you that haven't happened for me. And that just goes to show you, the American dream, contrary to what politicians might say, the American dream is still available. Like if you got to work hard for it, and it's going to resist you and it's going to fight you off, and there's a lot of competition for it. But if a person doesn't quit and just keeps showing up and takes full responsibility for the possibility and operates at the right level of activity, anybody can do it. If I can do it, trust me, I'm not the smartest guy. I'm good looking, but I'm not the smartest guy. And I just say, kidding around, I'm not the tallest guy.
Go ahead.
I'm not the tallest guy. I didn't have any connections. I didn't start with any money. And I started with a lot of stuff going against me. It just goes to show you the American dream is still alive and well for the handful of people that haven't given up on it.
Right. And one of the key things there is work hard. You have to have clear goals. And, and this is one of the things that I want. I'm just going to do the shout out. I don't think you and I have talked about this, but the chapter in goal setting in the 10X book, everybody should go out there and get the book or the audio just for the 10X chapter, the 10X goal setting chapter of the book. It will revitalize you, re-energize you. It will make you obsess about your life and your goals. I love this chapter of the book. In fact, over this Labor Day weekend, I read that chapter again.
Yeah.
It is probably one of the best classes on goal setting and getting your mind right.
Yeah. See, the deal is that people, a lot of people, most people actually have given up on the whole goal setting thing. They do it maybe once a year, on New Year's Eve, that's a good time to do it. And the reality is goals have disappointed people, not because they haven't set goals. It's because the goals that you're setting are based on earlier generations. People do what's called they adopt goals. They adopt ideas. I'll give you an example. People want to own a home today in America. Well, that's an adoption. That's a goal adoption. You've adopted an idea from an earlier generation when it was fashionable to own a home. And or you want to own a car. Okay. Truth is, none of those things are actually going to give you the freedom you want. Like people are not thinking about goals big enough. And that's why people give up on goals. People are not actually quitters and people aren't lazy. People are just simply not thinking about things big enough, giant enough, enormous enough to keep them excited. So the reason people don't attain their goals is because the payoff is never great enough compared to the amount of pain and suffering necessary to attain the goal. So 3 or 4 or 5 days or 6 days or a week into the goal, into the achievement, you're like, this isn't worth it. So in the 10X rule, by the way, be obsessed or be average is where the 10X rule ends off. I pick up how to get so obsessed, and I give people a permission to become maniacs. Because if you look over history, the last 2,000 years, Bert, you're going to see that all the maniacs, the geniuses, the people that we know as geniuses today were maniacs before anybody called them a genius. They were obsessed with some monster giant goal that allowed them to live a life with purpose and actually make a difference for the better.
Yes, and that's totally true. It's so funny when people look at, somebody like Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, today they're admired.
Yeah, exactly.
But at one point, they were considered foolish.
Totally. Both those guys are perfect examples of people that were considered early on. Steve Jobs, especially, even Bill Gates, both these guys started in garages. But the truth is, they didn't get big because they were in garages. They got big because they never quit. They got big because they literally defied gravity, defied any kind of small thinking. Bill Gates his dad, who they grew up wealthy, was talked out of quitting college. His dad said, "Don't quit, don't quit." And he put it off. Bill put it off for a year, and then when finally quit, sometime after that. Now we know him as Bill Gates, worth $90 billion. So he gave up on a middle class wealthy, for one of the richest people in the world.
Right. And that goes back to having those 10X goals and, like you said, being obsessed. And I want to put you on the spot here because today, for many people, Grant, obsession is like this four-letter word. It's got a bad or negative connotation. What would you write? Why would you write a whole book about being obsessed or obsession?
Yeah, because I want to give people permission to become obsessed, okay? Look, when I was from the age of 15 to the age of 42, I was labeled with diseases. They literally called them diseases, but never had any proof. I'm like, what kind of disease you think I got? You got ADD. I've been told I had ADD, OCD, that's obsessive compulsive disorder because I like things clean and orderly. I've been called a control freak, ADHD. I mean, I've been called so many D's, DICK. They call me everything, right? So I hope you got that last one if you figured it out, Bert. So anyway, one day I was like, all these people are telling me I have problems, man. Maybe the problem is that I'm not just embracing the problem. And when I started embracing this idea, when I get an idea, I can't get it out of my head. Okay, I remember my first business. I couldn't sleep at night. I'd have these ideas at night. They'd wake me up in the middle. When you own that completely, when you own your obsessions and quit trying to stifle them, okay, or push them down. Because every time I tried to deny the fact that I wanted to be super successful, that I wanted to be a celebrity, that I wanted to be a household name, that I wanted to be rich, every time I've denied one of those, that I wanted a hot chick, a really, really hot chick that I wanted to have sex with 3 times a week, when I denied those things, what happened, Bert, was it would come out, the energy would come out in all these weird ideas that became distorted and dysfunctional. When I started embracing the fact that I wanted to be a celebrity, I wanted to be a household name, that I wanted to be rich, that I wanted a hot chick, that I wanted to own my own business, I wanted to be in control, I wanted to have my own jet one day. When I quit denying that, all of a sudden, everything started lining up for me. My creativity, my life force, my purpose, my energy, creativity, the ideas that I had, all of that just started so in this book, I'm giving people permission. Embrace the disease. If it's a disease, embrace it because it's probably your gift, not a disease.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I want to kind of add my little thought on that. And a lot of people, this has happened to myself, and I've seen this happen to other people. We take our gifts for granted, and we feel that, well, this is easy, so it's easy for everybody. It's easy for us. It's easy for you because it's your gift. And as you said, you need to embrace it as opposed to shutting it down and, putting it down and thinking that it's not of any value. The reason that some of these people like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, if you will, the reason that they are where they're at is because they embrace their gift. They really got obsessed with their goals.
Yeah.
And they became an overnight success 25 years later as well.
Yeah, exactly. And see, I think what happens is your mommy and daddy or the guy you work for, the manager you work for, the company owner, whatever, they don't want you to be Genghis Khan, okay? Nobody wants you to be, the guy that rapes and pillages the villages. They don't want you to be the bad guy, so they're like, dude, tame it down, bro. Bring it home. Come be, act like mama and daddy. Socialize yourself. Fast forward to the 21st century where they put you on narcotics. Extremely, extremely dangerous narcotics. More dangerous than any street drug called lithium, Prozac, the whole list, Ritalin. 10 million kids last year were labeled ADD and then prescribed a Ritalin-type drug. I was prescribed lithium, Ritalin, Prozac. What was the other? Some other drug that made you feel like you were sleepy all day long. When I quit saying, hey, I'm not drugging this, man. This is my gift, okay? My energy is my gift. I am a young man full of ideas and ambition. When I quit medicating and started embracing the fact that I had obsessions and dreams and goals bigger than my parents. Or maybe they weren't bigger than my parents. Maybe my parents just had to deny them because of the time they were born in. When I quit denying what I wanted, I didn't need drugs, man. What I needed was employees. Okay? Because now I had an idea that I could build a company around, and I became an economy. Today I have 5 companies. I remember when I couldn't hold a job because I had too much energy, like that's a bad thing, for the McDonald's manager.
Yeah, well, you know what? And a lot of people don't get this. What you're saying, and you correct me if I'm wrong. Look, if we do not understand who we are, right, we're going to go in the wrong direction, and it's going to, the people are going to try to squeeze us into a box.
Yes.
There are so many unhappy people out there because they're not living up to their dreams or their potential. They're not living the life that they want.
Yeah.
And they're living in fear instead of being happy.
Yeah. Look what happens on our planet. Okay, look what happens. We got 75 million kids in America that are now labeled millennials, and everything now that comes with that label. You got right. 80 million baby boomers and seniors. They're labeled seniors. What does that mean? See, there's labels everywhere. The point is there's labels everywhere. You're labeled black. You're labeled white. You're labeled Hispanic. Below all that, what's there, man, is an idea. There's an idea inside the guy, whether he's 90 years old or 9 years old, black, white, Hispanic, male or female. See, I don't see people like that. I see ideas. I see a guy that's sitting on an idea, and either Steve Jobs like, hey, I'm going to build a phone that people want to lick the freaking buttons off of, and another guy that says, right. Oh, you use your phone too much, So it's like, drop the labels, okay? The reason I wrote this book was to give people permission to be obsessed, addictive, personalities, like to like be the beast, be something.
All right. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What, in your mind, what does it really mean to be obsessed? Define that, or be average.
Well, to be obsessed means that you can't shake the idea, okay? You can't shake the idea. Now, typically, obsessions are lined up with, I'm obsessed with the girl. Like if you look it up in the dictionary, it's always going to be about him or her. This fatal obsession. But you see, nobody condemns average. There should be a freaking drug for average, because this is the prison. This is the ultimate prison, to be average. Can you imagine making an average movie and telling people, hey, we just spent $200 million on an average movie with average actors. It's an average script. It runs an average 2 hours in an average theater in an average seat, and you're going to have an average experience. Right. No, nobody's going to go to that movie. So why would you want to live in that movie?
Right. And look, you don't want to date an average girl. You don't want to be married to an average wife. You don't want to have average kids, average sex.
Yeah. No, but if you talk to people, a lot of people listening right now they have actually started to say, no, I'm good with average. Okay. This is what the entire middle class of America is built off of. Politicians, they depend on people being average. If we give you a little pay raise this year, 3%, we know you'll be happy. See, so the world basically is being set up to be satisfied with whatever it gets. And if you get a little reward, a little tiny reward, then you're like, oh, wow, we're good because we're in the middle class. The middle class basically makes sense of itself. And I don't mean the middle class when I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about people that have settled in. The middle class in America makes sense of itself based on the fact that it has more than some starving person in a village in Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, or some other country that we can't even place on a map.
Yeah. You know what? And when you mention that we need a drug for average, unfortunately, I think that there is not just one, but multiple drugs for average. And when I say that is Prozac. Those are, and all these other pills that we are dumbing down America with keeps people average. It helps to perpetuate the averageness. I mean, and I'm going to put you on the spot here. Okay, so in your book, you're talking about being obsessed or being average. And so I have two questions for you. A, why do you think there's so much average in America? And I know we talked a little bit about that with our upbringing and so on. And then the other question is, how do you go about fixing it?
Yeah, well, I think first the first, the reason there's so much average is because people are actually selling it. You're being sold it. You were not. Nobody's born to be average. Okay, it's just there's nobody. Everybody would agree. Yeah, nobody's born average. Everybody's got some unique thing going on, like a thumbprint or a toe print, or I think you got some kind of print on your tongue and your eyelid. It makes these people special. But there's also the purpose of the individual. Everybody believes that. And then what happens is 10 years goes by, 15 years, 25 years. The longer that goes by, the more that individual starts to look like average.
All right.
And the freaks, the Mozarts, the Beethovens, okay, the Lady Gagas. Look what Lady Gaga had to go to, all the criticism, the hate, the make wrong for people to finally say, oh my God, that's Lady Gaga. See, so obsess means to preoccupy or fill the mind of some continually, intrusively, and the dictionary says troubling extent. The dictionary actually suggests that all obsessions are basically evil or bad. Look, I'm obsessed with my kids. I love my kids. I'm obsessed with my wife. I love my wife. I'm obsessed with possibility in my life, my dreams. I'm obsessed with them. These aren't bad things. I'm not going to jail. I don't commit crimes. I don't hurt people. I hire people, okay? I help people get a notch up in life. So I think, in our upbringing, in our schools, in the media, that if you get too much attention, then you're a media whore. If you don't get any attention, then we just don't know who you are. And people got to decide, which one do you want to fail on? Nobody ever knows you, or people are criticizing you? And I would suggest that if nobody knows you, you've done nothing on this planet. And if you're going to do something unbelievable, you better be obsessed, and you will get criticism. You will get haters. You will be labeled. And if you just stick with it, one day people will admire you if you're actually making the planet better, not worse.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that back to being this whole average thing that is taught in schools and taught in churches and taught just about everywhere, is this whole thing around criticism, as though being criticized is bad and you should avoid being criticized. And I believe that the opposite is true.
Yeah, I agree with that. You see, your mommy and daddy are part to blame for this. Because mommy and daddy quit. They gave up on exceptional, and they settled for the middle class. You see, my parents came from a poor upbringing. They came from Italian immigrants, and that were poor. They came to the country with nothing. My mom and dad set up shop, and they create a middle class. Well, they stopped at the creation of the middle class. My dad ran out of time. He died. And so my mom had to make sense. She stopped. They quit, right? The body quit or the mind quit. And they had to make sense of what they had. Up pops little GC, Grant Cardone. I'm like, dude, this isn't all there is. There's got to be another game here. I want the swimming pool. I want the boat. I want the time freedom. I don't want to be a doctor, but I want the money a doctor makes, right? And so when I'm wanting all these things, mom's saying, can't you just be happy with what we have? We have so much more than when I grew up. Okay? Can't you just be satisfied? All these, hey, how about this one? We love you, Bertie, just the way you are. Little Bert's got all these big dreams, and mommy says, but Bert, we love you just the way you are. She's saying settle, be average, take what you can get, rather than, Bert, you can do anything, man. This is an old message. Bert, you can do anything, bro. You can do 100 times more than you've ever dreamed. And everybody knows that's true. So I just want to give people permission. By the way, all the proceeds from the sale of this book, Bert, I don't know if you know this, are going to charity. All the book proceeds from the sale of the book to me are going to the Drug-Free America and Drug-Free World to educate the world that kids and teenagers are being overprescribed these very dangerous and harmful drugs.
Wow, that's great. No, that's I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's and this is something else, by the way. I want to point this out because this again is something that a lot of people fail to realize when they're setting big goals. And this is something that you talk about in 10X, and I've always believed this premise is that you got to connect your big goals to helping other people, helping communities. In this case, your charity, this charity that you're connecting with,
Yeah.
or you have to do something because if it's just about you, sometimes that's not big enough. But if it's about you and maybe putting schools in third world countries, that helps fuel your goals. It helps you become obsessed in a good way.
Well, yeah, dude. Look, if it's just about you, you're going to end up like Gaddafi or Saddam or Hillary. People hate you. Like nobody likes you. So or you end up like Donald. I mean, like these people. These are not likable people, unfortunately. So
right.
If you look at Mother Teresa, was Mother Teresa obsessed?
Yes.
Yeah, of course she was. How could you live an entire lifetime? Now, Hitler was also obsessed. It ended badly for him. So how do you want it to end? Oh, by the way, we're still talking negatively about Hitler today. Most people do not want that. They want to be talked to. My dad would be 100 years old today had he not died at the age of 52. My dad, because of his contributions to me, he had an obsession. Everybody's got them. He had an obsession with hard work. He had an obsession with his reputation. He had an obsession with family. He had an obsession with people. He loved to talk to people. That lives on in me today because my father was obsessed with it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, listen, we're out of time. I'd love to bring you back. So wait. When does the book come out? Because it's not out yet, right?
It's on pre-order at Amazon, or people can get it at grantcardone.com/obsessed. All proceeds to the author from the sale of the book go to charity.
All sales to the author go to charity. The book is Be Obsessed or Be Average, available on pre-order at Amazon or at grantcardone.com/obsessed.
Yeah. And by the way, look, if you got a kid that you're worried about in school that can't pay attention, that's hyperactive, get the kid this book. Parents, before you medicate your kids, get the kid this book. For those of you who hire people and you want a bunch of crazies around you that are all in all the time, get your people this book. It's going to give them permission to go all in and be maniacs and give up this overcommitment to being average.
Oh, man, that's perfect, Grant. We'll end on that note. Grant Cardone, everybody, New York Times bestselling author. You can find out more about Grant and the book at grantcardone.com/obsessed. Grant Cardone, thanks so much for stopping by, my friend.
Thank you, Bert.